Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to NEWSROOM. I'm your host, Khalid. Today is the 23rd of August 2022, and these are the stories that we'll be discussing in detail during the course of our show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with what is happening as far as the farmers' protest is concerned. We remember the amount of months the farmers remained a year back for lodging their protest against what they said were laws that were against the farming community in India. And now what is happening is that the farmers have returned to New Delhi and are protesting again. Why is the government in India not paying heed to the protests or to the demands by the Indian farming community? Why have they returned to New Delhi after a year's time? Are their demands not being met with? Are they of course facing certain dilemmas that need to be tackled with by the government? This is going to be our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Belt and Road Initiative of China. This is an initiative which is not just related to this region or Pakistan through the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, but also to different other continents as well, including Africa. We'll be discussing in detail the BRI aspect of China, the amount of initiatives that have been taken by China in that context, whether it be in Pakistan through the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor or through other such initiatives across the world, and what kind of fruits are those countries where these initiatives have started to be implemented are bearing fruit for those countries. This is going to be our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the farmers movement that has resurfaced in India, the farmers community that have started to protest again and have entered New Delhi as a sign of their protest against the government. What is going wrong with the farmers community? Why is the Indian government not giving them initiatives that they ask for? More in the following report.
The hypocrisy and indifference of BJP government is once again exposed as thousands of farmers gathered to protest against unfulfilled promises by Indian government. Protesters broke barricades and shouted slogans against Prime Minister Modi in the Indian capital, New Delhi. More than 8 months after farmers called off a year-long protest and the government apparently conceded to several of their demands, more than 5,000 farmers gathered in the centre of the capital. The farmers were protesting against the Indian government's introduction of 3 laws that loosened rules around sale, pricing and storage of farm produce, the rules which have protected them from free market for decades. Last November, Modi said he would roll back 3 farm laws that had aimed to deregulate produce markets, but which farmers said would allow corporations to exploit them. It's pertinent to mention here that farmers are leading an unprecedented movement in India following laws were passed by New Delhi in September 2020. Farmers claim that reforms work against their interests due to deregulation and allowing private players unhindered production access. Organisers of protests have repeatedly vowed that farmers' agitation will continue until the government withdraws its laws that would lead to the corporatization of the farm sector and marginalisation of farmers.
Now, to discuss more on this issue, we've been joined by Gurpreet Singh, who belongs to the organization Sikhs for Justice in the United Kingdom. Gurpreet Singh Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Gurpreet Singh Sahab, why are the farmers protesting again a year after they had protested across India for their demands? Has the Indian government not met with their demands?
Well, actually, when you talk about the India, the government time to time always make a promise to all sort of agitations. Then after a while, when the agitation cool down, they change the stance. Or either after 5 years, when the election comes, one government makes some promise, the other one elected, they demolish those promises and move on. And India has seen these things, not now. Since 1947, the promise made to Kashmir, 370 article has been removed. Even Punjab, when India got independent, it divided into 3 states, Haryana, Himachal and others. And I think it's a naive to promise or trust Indian state for anything. And in this, because the farmer protest came recently, and the farmers were like, if you think, they're represented by what you call CPI, CPM, which is also a political party which works for the labor class people and farmers. Like here in UK, Labour has different value and Conservative have a different value. That's on a commercialized basis. When we talk about Pakistan and India, there is no policy as such in the government. Either there is a Congress or BJP or any other. In Pakistan, it's like Benazir Bhutto or others, but there is no policy based on the economical aspect. So when these vague leaders elected, they have their own agenda to grab the power and control people in any aspect. So I think this is the display, which the protest which we're talking about. Let me remind you this. This is the
But
biggest.
Gurpreet Singh Saab, with due apologies, we don't have huge farmers' protests in our country, and most or more or less the demands are being met with. What about the Mahapanchayat that is, of course, being organized in India as we speak by the farmers' community? They did assemble a year back, and they were in thousands and thousands, and they were asking for the 3 farm laws to be repealed that the BJP had asked for. Nevertheless, the assurances had been given, and only then had the farmers left their protest. Are these 3 laws that were to be repealed by the Modi government not yet been removed? Is that the reason why the farmers community are back protesting in New Delhi, or are there some other reasons as well?
Well, that's what I'm coming to, because the protest is happening in Holland at the moment, in Germany, farmer protest, even though it's not happening in Pakistan. When we see all over the world, it's the same scenario going on. But when we talk about the Indian protest, it's the biggest in history. It's the biggest protest ever in history in any kind. So let's, coming back to your question, which you mentioned. Yes, the farmers has agreed on a certain conditions, the law which will be repealed in a way. But then there is a second condition they have, is the minimum rate of their products, which they have
The
agreed.
minimum support price for crops, the MSP, this is what
That's
they
right.
call it.
MSP, yes, that's right. Yeah, MSP, that's the right word. Yes. Now, the problem is this. Let me tell you one thing. When these laws came, it's already implemented. Most of the states in India, they have not objected. It's only the Punjab who taken the stand against these laws, and other states have joined Punjabi farmers in order to start the process against Delhi. Again, coming to the point, when these laws were happening, Indian state says they're not gonna be listen to anybody. But the problem occurred because when we spoke about Punjabi people, they started the protest. Other states have joined, and they promised at one stage, we are not going to be implement these laws which already has been passed. They given them 1 year time when they made a promise, because the election was happening in 2-3 states and they are likely to lose BJP. Let me remind this whole political game.
All right.
When they realize they're gonna lose these elections, they say, give us a 1 year time and we will come back on the table. Elections held, nothing happened. Now, the farmer demanded that meeting, which is pending. Government is not willing to listen. So now the protest has started again.
All right, Gurpreet Singh Saab, if you remember, 8 people, including 4 farmers, had been allegedly run over by Union Minister Ajay Mishra's son Ashish in Lakhimpur Kheri in October last year. Now, last week also, the Samyukt Kisan Morcha had organized a demonstration in Uttar Pradesh seeking justice on this violence case, but no justice has been given to them, has it? Even 1 year has passed on, but nothing has happened. Do you feel this is also one of the reasons why they are protesting?
Okay, very good question in that regards. Let me tell you one thing. This is, as I said, is a political, and one MP's son who crushed 8 farmers. Prior to that crush, he made a statement what he's going to do, and he did exactly the same. Did India deliver 1984 justice? Did they deliver Gujarat genocide? No. Last week, the 11 people has been released who raped the innocent family and killed them. If you think the justice will be delivered, I think we have no hope from the Indian state. Let me be very clear. If anybody think you will get a justice from the state, you can see the pattern going back to 1947 since India became independent. Did any kind of justice has been delivered? No. Minorities are in India, you know very well. They are under the threat. But the problem is this now. Look, let's coming to the solution for 1 second. When this protest happening in India at the same time, the Sikhs for Justice given a pledge to the Indian farmer, not only the Punjab, the whole farmer. If you decided today, because you probably know that the farmer was sitting in the boundary of the Punjab, Haryana and UP. And we ask the farmers, if you declare your independence today, whatever your demands will be met within 24 hours as an independent country. When India sees the threat, overnight they ask for the meeting and they say, look, we're willing to listen to you, give us some time. Then at the same time, referendum was happening in UK at that time. Now, the same proposal going back, there is a solution. Proposal is going back to the farmers again. India not gonna give you the justice. It's all political demands which only can be met as an independent state, which the Khalistan or the independent Punjab can give these assurance today if they want to take the next step. And they are in full entitlement to do that. But they want to, they say that we want to speak to the state. Last time, I think this will, these farmers' protest will be the landmark dialogue, historical way and negotiation way, because this is the biggest threat India feels from the farmers.
All right, Gurpreet Singh Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. That was Gurpreet Singh. Of course, he's leading his movement Sikhs for Justice in the United Kingdom, and he was talking to us about the movement for the farmers that has again gained momentum a year after it had happened in India, and now the farmers community are again at the gates of New Delhi asking for their demands and asking for their due rights. We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. And our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, in Newsroom tonight consists of the Belt and Road Initiative. This huge initiative undertaken by China has many dimensions. One of the biggest ones is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. But Pakistan is not the only country where the Belt and Road Initiative is taking fruition. There are other countries, especially in the African continent as well. We'll be back with our guests, but before that, a short report.
2013, the Chinese President Xi Jinping's signature multi-billion-dollar Project Belt and Road Initiative has made remarkable achievements in the realm of infrastructure, connectivity, multilateralism, and economic development. According to Global Times, the accumulated trade volume between China and the BRI countries totaled $10.4 trillion since 2013, accounting for more than 30% of China's total foreign trade of goods during this period. At the fifth session of the 13th National People's Congress, China's State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi elaborated that solid progress has been made when it comes to the hard connectivity of infrastructure cooperation under the BRI. The NPC session further discussed that China will work with the international community to continue advancing high-quality BRI cooperation as it has maintained sound momentum despite the impact of COVID-19 pandemic and other factors. According to a research report published by the World Bank in June 2019, if fully implemented, the BRI will increase the trade of participating countries by 2.8% to 9.7% and between 1.7 and 6.2% for the world. China's foreign ministry has repeatedly warned against levelling geopolitical calculations against BRI, while emphasizing that between 2015 and 30, 7.6 million people will be lifted out of extreme poverty and 32 million out of moderate poverty.
and to talk about the Belt and Road Initiative as well as China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, the economic benefits of which different countries across the world will reap. For CPEC, of course, it's going to be Pakistan, and other countries who participate in the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. But as far as the BRI is concerned, it's a huge global economic prospect for all the countries of the world. To talk about that, we've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. Dr. Mohammed Zaman, who's a sociologist. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. And with Dr. Zaman is Dr. John Njenga Karugia. He's a lecturer at the Humboldt University of Berlin. Thank you very much, Dr. John, to have joined us as well. Let's begin with you, Dr. Zaman. Dr. Zaman, when you look at the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor or the different aspects of it, the different phases of it, we're in the second phase, there are the special economic zones as well that are being constructed as we speak, and there's an interest that has been evinced by different countries across the world to be part of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. How important is it for Pakistan's economic stability, this project?
Thank you, Omar. I think Pakistan has a very crucial role, since Pakistan has a lot of economic opportunities. As we know, we were lacking foreign direct investment, and I think this was the one of the opportunity that we got in terms of, initially I guess it was 62 billion that gone, I think 100 billion and plus. We have huge projects, not only in energy but also road construction, railways, and as well as Gwadar port. I mean, such a huge investment that is ever in the history of the country. This is the one point. The second, we have 60 plus, 63 or 64% plus youth population that need not only education but employment and the opportunity to get engaged economically. And I think CPEC and BRI has opened up a really huge business as well as social, economic and educational opportunities for Pakistan. A lot of Chinese universities are engaged with the Pakistani universities, where we are getting opportunities of getting student faculty exchange as well as learning mutually from the Chinese experience and as well as the Pakistani experience. And I think this kind of opportunity is really unique. Although a lot of criticism also emerged, but I see it on the side that is very positive. I mean, engaging the youth population on one hand, and as well as bringing the economic, cultural and social opportunities on the other hand.
All right, engaging the youth and bringing social and economic opportunities to the forefront for different countries. For us, it's the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. But for other countries also, the Belt and Road Initiative has been extremely important. Dr. John, let's come to you. Now, Dr. John, you know, being a Kenyan yourself and representing Africa as a country, when we look at the Belt and Road Initiative and we look at the basics of what are the objectives of the BRI, includes to increase trade and investment, free trade zones, enhance financial cooperation in the region, gain access to natural resources, strengthen transport infrastructure in the BRI corridors as well. For Africa, how important has the Belt and Road Initiative been?
In fact, thank you so much for having us. The Belt and Road Initiative, I would say, is new in its dynamic of financing, but China and Chinese support for African infrastructure goes back a long way. It goes back into the 50s and the 60s when the Tanzania-Zambia Railway was constructed with the support of China. It was the biggest development project that was conducted outside of China at that time. And this Tanzania-Zambia Railway, the one called TAZARA, still runs until today. Reflecting on what was going on across, you know, the BRI projects in Africa, there is a lot of road construction, and in Africa we'll have sports here, so you will see there will be a lots of stadiums that are being constructed, as well as railway projects. Just to mention an example from Kenya, where I am from. Well, we have had a new railway constructed as a BRI project from Mombasa to Nairobi, and it has gone on now to Naivasha, and it is used to transport cargo. Formerly, there have been lots of accidents on the main highway between Mombasa and Nairobi. And as far as I am concerned, there has not been a single accident in terms of the railway, and it is faster transporting goods to Naivasha, to a dry port inland, and that has and these railway has also been used, is also transporting passengers across these geographies. While it was being built, as well as road construction and so on and so forth, despite the fact that there will be people who have not confirmed their data and people who have not done research on what they're saying, who will claim that who will give critique as far as who is working on these projects. But there is no single project that I have been to, and I've written a lot about this, I've researched in Tanzania as well. All these projects employ very many local people. And they are providing not only employment, but also development for all these geographies in terms of opening them up to trade and opening them up to investment, either from domestic investment or from international partners of the various across.
Dr. John, when you talk of employment opportunities, of course it strengthens the local populace in continents such as Africa or in countries such as ours as well. As far as Africa is concerned, or your country Kenya is concerned, or other neighboring African countries are concerned, how much has the Belt and Road Initiative led to economic stability or employment?
In terms of the Belt and Road Initiative, and this is a character of very many projects that are conducted across Africa by the Chinese government and Chinese financing, there is the idea that across the continent, you talk about stability of investment, the idea that unlike Bretton Woods institutions or unlike other partners, mostly I would say Western partners, who would stop a major construction project, and formerly we have seen white elephants and other big projects being stopped just because a new president has been elected and they do not agree with them or they do not like this president. We have seen stability in terms of promised projects being delivered. And so if a road is supposed to be delivered in 3 years, mostly it will be delivered in 2.5 years. And that helps in terms of planning and being able to execute projects in time. Whatever these may be, these are factories you're thinking about. You're talking about the idea of being able to establish the industries that process we see in like shoes,
which eventually leads to progress. And I think progress is what every country in the world wants. Every country wants to stand on its own 2 feet, wants to be economically strong and have a stronger employment rate as well. Dr. Mohammed Zaman, how important has the China-Pakistan economic corridor been for Pakistan? There has been a lot of talk about the infrastructure, the roads, how they are important or not. How much do you feel is good infrastructure important for all the different CPEC projects that are currently in progress in Pakistan?
I think the major investment of BRI generally and CPEC is on the roads and railways, and also metro in terms of Lahore. If we speak honestly, this is one of the best projects I can foresee. A lot of people criticize the metro projects, but I'm one of the person who generally speak in favor of the metros, because Pakistan needs the really good transportation. For example, motorways in Pakistan are just a blessing. In terms, in Pakistan every year around 30,000 people die on road accident. 30,000. This is more than the war on terror, the casualties Pakistan has. Equally to 4% GDP we lost financially, and I think this is more than the defense budget of the country, which we often criticize. And honestly speaking, such a huge loss Pakistan has not done with the even war on terror last 15 years, where whole economy was directed. So just see the volume of the casualties, human costs, financial costs, and around 50,000 people die become disabled every year in Pakistan. And when we are speaking, in every minute there is a road accident. So while talking to the CPAC and BRI, if we are on the motorways or highways, there is the less chance of the road accident as compared
so
to
of course the road safety is extremely important, and that is where the road project and the infrastructure projects under the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor come into effect. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammad Zaman. Thank you very much, Dr. John, to have joined us. The Belt and Road Initiative and the CPAC, of course, are two very important projects, and the world needs to put more emphasis on it. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories and segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay tuned. Allah Hafiz.